Good evening, everyone. Okay, so let's start. So in last class we discussed about VPN, right? So we are going to start about AAA today. Okay. So guys, before that, we discussed few more topics. If you remember, we discussed about how about the device management, right? Okay. So guys, the topic of the day is about AAA, right? So Cisco have one solution for AAA that is known as ISE Identity Services Engine. Okay. But before starting about the topic, we need to know about the requirement of it, and like the previous solutions, those are not enough to use, right? So that is our Identity Service Engine. So this is the solution right now that we are using in Cisco. But here we are talking about two type of traffic, guys. If you remember, we discussed types of traffic or types of data. Yes, ASA is completed. We have to discuss just about next generation firewall. After this topic, we will start about the next generation firewall after completing Cisco ISE.
Okay, I think quality of service and routing in AS is
That I will tell you. Just let's cover at least the core topic. The
okay.
quality of service is just. I will explain you about that, right? And the routing, we discussed about OSPF, ARP configuration, and if you remember about BGP as well. But I will show you how. Okay. So guys, we have majorly three type of traffic, but here we are talking about first is management, right? And the second is network access. So what is the meaning of management and what is the meaning of network access? Any one of you know about? If you know about the management traffic, management means which is used to manage the network devices, right? Management traffic is which is used to manage the network devices. What is the meaning of network devices, guys? Here, like I'm talking about here to manage the uh, you want to use telnet, right? Or you want to use ssh, http or https. So we are using these protocol to access any device. Right now if I'm talking about a router, so on router I have cli access, so I can use telnet or ssh, right? Okay, that is considered under the management traffic, right? And the second type of traffic is your data traffic, which is user traffic, which want to access any services through the network devices, right? So the next is data plane, you can say, or data user traffic. So that also consider and inside the network access. And data plane is actually the user traffic which access the network services or internet, right? So that is called user plane or data plane traffic. So let understand these 2 points with an example. So suppose these are the network users, and here we have network component as switch, and then maybe we have router, then maybe we have firewall, and after that we have here internet, right? And here we have multiple services, okay, on the internet, those we need to access the internet, okay. So suppose these are the users, so the users have different role in the network. So first of all, you can say like if anyone is trying to configure this router, if any one of them, so that is under the management traffic, that is under the management traffic. So normally administrator have access of the devices to configure anything, right? So that means if user want to configure the router or the switch or the firewall, so that consider under the management plane, right? And if here we have user, so user is trying to access the internet, maybe they are trying to access the google.com, right? So this user is trying to access the google.com, so the traffic will pass through the network component, switch, router, then firewall, and it will reach to the internet and it will reach to the particular service. So that is considered under the data plane traffic or a user traffic, right? So we have multiple variety of the traffic, and even we have control plane that is between the devices only, CDP, DTP, routing, and anything, right? So now we were discussing about management plane in previous sessions. Previous means when we're talking about the initial lectures, right? So in management, firstly, we discuss about how to configure the telnet protocol, right? Second, we discussed about the SSH and HTTP, HTTPS protocols. But now, if you remember, we have normally a username and the password, right? On a device, username and password on it. So that means whenever we want to access any device, we need such credentials. So suppose I have here router. An administrator want to access the router through the telnet, right? So telnet is the protocol which is allow you to access any component. But when you try to hit the component or the device, so device always give you the login prompt. So login prompt means you need to enter here like username is your admin, right? Then the device is asking about, okay, enter the password now. So you need to enter the password, or maybe that is visible with star star star, or maybe uh, empty. In Cisco case there will be no star star, just to hide the password, right? Like you are not trying to give the hint how many digit exist in your password, right? So there will be no visibility in the password, and you will log in through the username and the password, right? But after username and the password, like you have not decided the control of the devices. Control means like what admin can configure on the device or what admin can remove on the device. So if you remember, the control means here I'm talking about the privilege, right? Here I'm talking about the privilege. Privilege means like how much privilege administrator have to access my device, what administrator can configure, what it can remove, okay? So that is under the privilege level, right? So we discussed here about role based access list in this topic, role based access list. So role based access list means we have privilege levels. What we have, guys? Privilege level. So privilege level is giving you idea how much level you have to access or control the device. So normally we have 0 to 15, right? And we have user defined, that is 0, 1 and 15. So these are the defined, okay? And after that we have customized from 2 to 14, we can configure them. So that means I can define multiple roles, okay, or multiple username and the password, and everyone have now their own privilege level. So that kind of configuration we can do, right? So like if we have admin, so on admin I will say, okay, you have privilege level 15. 15 means you have full access of the router, you can do anything. Then I have level 2 engineer, so level 2 have like only privilege level 7, so which have just limited command to configure or just show commands on the device, right? And the last one is L1 engineer for me. So L1 engineer have limited commands just for the output, just for the output, like show running, show version, swipe interface brief. So these type of commands, right? But if you remember, privilege level have problem, that is hierarchy, inheritance rule problem. Inheritance, like if anyone have privilege level 7 is here, and in later maybe I'm going to introduce a new privilege level that is maybe for engineer L3. So I'm giving here level 8, right? So level 8 engineer will get all the commands from level 7 because that is the default behavior. So higher level always get all command access. Those are already in the lower privilege level, right? So this is the main problem with so parser view is also giving you kind of a privilege level configuration, but we don't have here any inheritance rule. Okay, so but still we have one problem with both solutions. Like we can control the commands as per my admin or engineers, I can define the commands, right? But this is not a scalable solution, so both are not a scalable solution. Why? What is the reason why both are not scalable? That means we can't configure on thousands of devices same configuration, right? So this will be a problem to configure privilege level or parser view on thousands of devices. And maybe they that management will ask you to change a small change, or maybe in future you need to add or remove a particular user, right? So when you are trying to remove, when you want to try to remove or add a particular user, so what will be the problem? So the same thing you need to repeat on 1000 plus devices, so that is not scalable, right? So what we need here, guys, so if we have such problems in network related to the management traffic, I'm only talking about the management of the device. So we have here secure access solution from Cisco. What kind of solution do we have, guys? Here we have Cisco secure access solution. So what is that solution? So that is, this is centralized solution okay database in the configuration level, right? Okay, so suppose here we have a router, right? And here is my switch, and here is my firewall, right? So this is my secure access solution server. So this is my server, okay? That is, you can say, my AAA server, right? So secure access server means we are talking about AAA solution. So what is AAA? AAA is basically authentication, authorization, and accounting, right? Authentication, authorization, accounting. So what is the meaning of authorization? Authorization means, okay, let's suppose we have, these are the network component, firewall, router, switch, okay, and this is the AAA server. So here is the administrator. So this administrator is trying to log in the router, right? So whenever you try to log in the router, like you use such type of protocol, telnet, SSH, HTTP, HTTPS, right? So when you try to access the router, so you will use telnet. So this router will see, okay, the user is trying to access me through a protocol and asking for the login, right? So normally this device give a prompt, and what is the prompt, guys? Prompt says like, okay, give me the username. So it give you the login prompt, that means asking for the username, right? So when you are going to give the username, it's asking for password now, right? So it asks you username and the password prompt, but directly. But this time you need to configure on everyone about that AAA server. So that means I configured on this router. If someone is trying to log in you this time, so just send a request to your AAA server. Okay. So just ask to the AAA server what you have to be do. Okay. Now, so we will configure on the router. So just an imagine we have here connectivity. So this is 12.1.1.1. Okay. And here is 12.1.1.2 IP on the server. Now, so whenever user is trying to log in on the router, so router no, I have already AAA server configurations. I have AAA server and AAA server IP address is 12.1.1.2. So that means if anyone tried to hit me on line VTY, line VTY means we are talking about the remote access. So under line VTY, it's no, if anyone try to log in, just send a request to the AAA server. So it AAA is this, so it will send a request to the AAA. Okay. So now AAA server must know about the network component. So under AAA server, I need to add my all the network devices. So I need to add my router one, I need to add my firewall, I need to add my switch. So all the component must be added under the AAA device. In the second, we need to define here user database. So user means like I'm going to be define like user is admin, user is L3, L2 or L1, right? And also I'm going to be define the command and the configuration level. So what we are going to be do, we are going to be configure here commands, you can say for now. So command means like admin have full access, L3 have okay, L3 also maybe have full network component access, L2 have limited configuration command, L1 have just output commands, right? So that how we can categorize the commands for the user specific or a group specific. Okay. So this can be user or it can be user specific or group specific. Okay. So this is the central solution here, the secure access solution, right? Okay. Now you can say, so we are talking about here AAA. So AAA is my, just give me a minute. Okay. So AAA solution is actually giving you multiple features. Like the first is device access. So that is under the device access, or you can say device administration. Okay. Okay. Device access or device administrator. So that means we are using AAA solution, that is authentication first thing. Authentication means like who are you, right? So that means server also need to know who are you, like we will configure credentials on the server. Like if anyone is trying to log in the router, so router is sending request to the AAA server, the central server. So central server must have username and the password in that case. Okay, so we need to configure username and the password in that case. After that we have authorization. So authorization is that means what you can do, right? So in that case, guys, we need to define the level, or you can say like privilege level kind of things we need to configure on the server, like what a user can do after the login. Okay, what a user can do after the device login, right? And after that is accounting. Accounting means like after the login what user did. So this is like keep accounting or the detail, like user did these particular things, user configure some configuration on the device. So all these things are under the accounting. Accounting means what user did during the device login. So these details are, or like you can say, you can categorize the AAA in these three things: authentication, authorization, and accounting, right? So Cisco have here one secure solution. Like there was multiple, you can say, like before ISE there was one more ACS, but right now we are not using ACS, we are using the ISE. So ISE is currently in use. So ISE is introduced with version 1.x, and later on it's come with 2.x, but currently it's with 3.x now. Okay, and that is also in the lab. So ISE is Cisco Identity Secure Solution Service Engine, right? So now we need to define, or we need to use some protocols. Like what is the meaning of protocol? Like we know this is the ISE. So we need some protocols. Those are help to make communication between the ISE and between the device. So that means if I'm using here Cisco ISE and we have here router. So here is the router, and here is the AAA solution, that is Cisco ISE. So that means there must be something which make communication between the router and the server. So we have basically two protocols here. Those are used for the same purpose. So one is the TACACS, that is actually TACACS plus, and second is radius. So guys, TACACS and radius is here. TACACS is actually used for the device access or administrator, right? And radius is actually used for the network access. So what is the meaning of device administrator and network access, guys? Here device administrator means if anyone is trying to take management of the devices. Management means like telnet, ssh. So if you want to take telnet or ssh, so that time we use TACACS. And whenever we are trying to access the network resources, like we want to access the network, or we want to, okay, you can say when user connect with switch and trying to access the network resources, right? So that is actually with the help of radius protocol, right? So you will see the difference between the protocols when we are going to be configure, like why we need TACACS and why we need radius, right? So let discuss here about TACACS first, guys. Guys, do you have any doubt till now? Any one of you? Hello? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, great. Now, let's talk about the TACACS protocol. So that is actually TACACS Plus because first of all they introduced the TACACS only. So TACACS had some limitations, but now we have TACACS Plus. So TACACS Plus is Cisco proprietary. Okay, so that is Cisco protocol, and TACACS is actually known as Terminal Access Controller Access Control system, right? So that is the full form of TACACS, and this is TCP based protocol, guys. So there is you can say reliability for TACACS, and the port number is 49 for TACACS. That means whenever device is trying to interact with uh, AAA server using the TACACS, so they are always three-way handshake in the case of authentication, authorization, and accounting. So that means like every time they have three-way handshake. Like authentication have its own three-way handshake, authorization also, and accounting also. Okay. So now, if you ask like, what are the packet types when the devices are using authentication, authorization, and accounting? So let's understand with authentication first, guys. Okay, so suppose here is the router, and here we have AAA server, the ICE. So right now we are talking about authentication only. So that means like how the device is going to authenticate through it, and the user is here which is trying to log in the device. So user is trying to log in the device. So router already know who is the server. So server is 12.2 and here is 12.1. And now user is trying with the telnet, right? So the make sure device have reachability with the server first, okay? And device also have entry of the network component. Like the network component is here router, and router IP address is 12.1. So they can have communication here, right? And now user is trying to log in. So the first of all router know whenever anyone is trying to log in, so we need to send the request to the server, okay? So it's sending here packet. So in authentication there are three type of packet, guys. So authentication have first packet is start, second is reply, and third one is continue. So these are the three packets. Okay. Now the point is, so whenever user is trying to hit on the line VTY of the router, so router is first of all sending a TCP connection, because this is the first time when router is interacting with the AAA device. Okay, and we know the first they are starting with the start, but before that there must be a three-way handshake. So that is synchronization, and here is syn plus ACK from the server end, and here is the acknowledgement. So first of all there is three-way handshake, right? So after that now router is sending here first packet. So you can say like these start and reply is like query and the reply packet. Okay, and we have continue packet in between. So the first is, this is the first packet after three-way handshake. So the router is sending here a start packet. So this is the start packet, guys. Okay, and this start packet is like this is the router is asking, okay, I am getting here one login request. What I'm getting here? What I'm getting here? I'm getting here login request. Okay, so here is the login request on router, and router is sending this login request to server. And now the server is receiving the login request. So first of all server is going to be check the network must be here in the network inventory with the uh, IP address of the router and the device type, and there is also like a key that must be defined on the both device, like key is Cisco on here also and on my device also. So this must be configured because they are encrypting the packet. Actually all these packets are, you can say, encrypted here, right, between the server and the router. So after this packet, now router is sending a second packet to the, sorry, server is sending packet to the router, and this is actually a continue packet, guys. What type of packet is this? This is continue packet, and where it's asking about the, okay, give me the username, because still the server is getting here login prompt, request for login prompt. And after login prompt server is asking now, okay, give me the username, so it can match with the database, right? So there is a username and password on the router end, sorry, the server end. And now this request will forward by the router to the client. So it's asking here about the username. So now user is going to be add the username. Okay, like username is admin, so this will be sent to the router. Router is sending now third packet. So third packet is also continue packet, that is also continue packet here. So this continue packet keep the username, and what is the username? Username is admin, right? So it will match with the, okay, database. So like database have here inventory that is known as user and user groups actually. So there can be single user, or there can be multiple groups or multiple users inside it. Okay, now like I have here user is admin, so that is part of my like administrative group. So that is the group. So now after that, like server is asking again, now it's also sending again continue packet. So this continue packet is now asking about the password, give me the password. Server is asking about the password, so user is matched here with the database. So router also send asking for the password. Okay, enter the password now. Okay, now client is going to be enter the password. Okay, like password is Cisco. So in the sixth packet it will send the continue packet again. So all the packets are continue now, and here is the password. Password is Cisco. So once password is here, so now server will confirm you are now authorized or not. You are now authorized or not. So here server sorry, not authorize, it's about authentication because we are talking about here username and the password. So this is the final reply packet. So that reply packet is related to the authentication. So authentication can be pass or it can be fail only, right? Because if you are matched with the current correct password, so there will be no problem, you will be pass, and otherwise there will be fail, right? Maybe you have used the wrong credentials, and that is giving you the login under the device. So this entire process is actually under the authentication. So these are the three packets, guys, you can say: start, reply, and continue. So start is the first packet which is sent by the router to the servers. I'm starting and I'm asking, like user is asking for login request. After that we have continue packet. Continue means like they have continue, like server is asking about the username, and then user is giving the username, server asking about the password, so user is sending the password. So all are under the continue packet from here to here, right? And the last one is after getting username and the password, server is sending the reply packet. It can be pass or it can be fail. Okay. Now, if you say the TACACS payload is TACACS plus payload is, this is encrypted payload, guys. Okay. The payload is encrypted. And one more thing about it, what method they are using, that method is even disclosed, so we don't know about that method. Okay, so like what is the TACACS method is also disclosed, so we don't have any clue about it. We know about the packet types as a theory portion, but if you are decrypting the packets, maybe you will see the packet types, maybe you will not get the entire content whatever they are exchanging inside it. Okay, so that is disclosed. And now we need to configure the key, so that key must remain same on server end and the device end. Okay, so that must be remain same on both ends, so we have to make sure about that. Okay, so these are the few things. So this is just about the authentication, guys. Okay, so after this authentication, now the device, the user is getting the login prompt on the router, about login prompt on the router, right? And now after the login prompt on the router, what user can do? What user can do? So that is the question. So that means authentication is done. Now this is the second phase, that is about the authorization. So this is the phase one, you can say, like we had discussed authentication, authorization, and accounting. So that means if my device is done with the authentication, so just device, the user is landed on the device CLI. What next? What command can be run by the user? Okay, and now this entire process is under the authorization. So if authentication is done, so now in the second phase, device is going to be asked about authorization. So in authorization also we have similar type of packets here, guys. The first one is request, and second is response. So that means if anyone is login on the device, so you will try to enter some command, maybe it can be related to configuration, IP address, no shutdown, or you are removing some configuration, right? So now device is here connected with the server. So for authorization also, like the user is trying to enter some command. Okay. So maybe you have type here like configuration terminal command. Okay. So when you type the command, so this device is already authenticated with username and the password. But now device must ask about, okay, is this user eligible to configure this command or not, right? So now before that it's going to again for three-way handshake, or again for three-way handshake. Okay. So now here is again synchronization packet, syn plus ack. Okay, and the last one is acknowledgement. So once again we have three-way handshake here. So you can say authentication have its own three-way handshake and then packet exchange. Authorization have its own three-way handshake and then packet exchange. And similar with accounting, right? Now here is the first packet exchange after this three-way handshake. So whenever user is trying to enter the command on router, so after this three-way handshake, router is sending now request packet. So in this request packet, actually they are asking about what type of privilege level you are allowing to give us for the user admin. Because admin access the CLI or admin device, admin user login on the R1. So for that, there is a request packet. So server is getting the request packet. So in server also we have policy here, right? Under the policy we define the user and the groups with the privilege level. So like these are part of privilege level 15, level 7, and what commands they have in that level, right? So we configure under the policy. So after that policy, server share the response. Server share the response, and response is actually with the level, like what kind of level you are getting maybe level 15, right? So that level information is shared to the client, so client will get here full access of the router. Okay, is it clear to everyone?
Yeah, for the authorization packet, it will share the first TCP pack, three-way handshake will be done. After that, request packet will be done.
Right, because authentication and authorizations both are separate method, right? So when methods are separate, so there is also three-way handshake for both, separate three-way handshake, because both are maybe combined. You can say like the process is in sequence: first authentication, then authorization, right? But the packet types are different. Even the session is different. So that is different session. So for every different session, there is a separate three-way handshake, right? So you can say in AAA, separate authentication and authorization session. Okay, and even packets are different, or you can say separate packets for authentication authorization session. Okay, separate packets for both sessions, and three-way handshake are also different. Okay, not different, different means like separate three-way handshake. Okay, so keep remember these things, and also for accounting as well. Okay, not only for these. So is it clear to everyone?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. So now, if you talk about Cisco ISE, so how we can deploy the Cisco ISE and how we can use it actually. So let me show you. Actually, Cisco ISE is the compliance which have multiple personas, like you can say roles on the device. Okay, so Cisco ISE have multiple personas. You can say persona is like personality of the device or how we can deploy. So you can say even these are type of modes. Okay, we can say those are type of modes or uh, personality of the device, how we can deploy that, what it can be do. So that is under the persona. So if you go with the persona, so the first of all we have pan. Okay, so that is policy administration node. Okay, so one is policy administration. So policy administration is like you want to configure the device or you have to add some configuration. So administration means when you want to access the Cisco ISE and when you want to configure this Cisco ISE for the network. So for configuration purpose, okay, for configuration purpose, okay, for configuration or to check the logs or troubleshooting. So like we need GUI of the device. So that is through the PAN. So PAN is one persona of the ISE which is giving you configuration logs and the troubleshooting, like where you can log in the device and you can configure it, right? And after that we have the second is MNT, monitoring and the troubleshooting, right? Monitoring and troubleshooting. So what is the meaning of monitoring and troubleshooting? So one device where we can monitor the device or we can like, okay, this is just about the configuration guys, like you can do any configuration on the device or you can configure the policy, like the configuration part only. Okay, but if we talk about the device monitoring and the troubleshooting, so that is under the, that is under the MNT, monitoring and the troubleshooting purpose, like where we can get the logs. Okay, and we can check the device logs, like how the traffic is going through, what policy the device is using, right? So all these things we can see under the monitoring and the troubleshooting. And the last one is actually guys PSN, policy service node, right? So policy service node means like that node is actually for type of the policy or to interact with the devices, like whenever any device is going to be use TACACS protocol or the radius protocol to interact with the AAA device, so that always land inside the PSN, inside the PSN. So that means whenever anyone is going to be check for AAA or for authentication or authorization, right? So every policy lookup, okay, so that will happen under the PSN. So these are the personas, and there is one more that is actually PS grade. Let me show you. Wait a minute. Okay, so we can use this book. So ICE is for identity. Okay, so if we talk about, we have multiple personas, right? So as we begin to take a detailed look at Cisco ISE, we realize the ISE is designed with scalability in mind, right? So that is a central solution, that's why. So the first one is your administration node. So what is the meaning of administration node, guys? So the first and the possible, the most important persona is administration node. That functions of Cisco is too important because how you configure the device and administrator for network and network policies. So that is under your administration node, like where you can control the device, you can configure it, you can configure the policies, you can add the network component inside it, right? So that is under the administration node. So after that we have here policy service node. So what is policy service node? Policy service node means like my router is trying to send a request, TACACS request to my server. So in that case, PSN is going to be deal with that request, right? So the next persona within a ISE deployment is PSN. So PSN persona is the network host of network ISE deployment. Like after making the changes on the PAN, all policies are pushed to the PSN. So like you configure through the administration, later on those policies will push to the policy service in node, right? Where any network administration or each NAD means network access device on the network will point to one or more of the ISE. So that means they can come to the PSN and ask for the network access or the device access, right? And after that we have the third one is the monitoring and the troubleshooting, like where device share the logs, you can troubleshoot, you can analyze the traffic, right, for authentication and authorization. So the third persona is the ISE deployment monitoring troubleshooting. The function of the node is exactly as it sounds, like providing you monitoring and the troubleshooting. Okay, and the events are forwarded on the MNT nodes, which are consolidate and the process these events into a legible format. So that means now you can check the logs, like the device is eligible to access it or not, what is the problem or what is the failure. We can track the endpoint or users to authenticate, right? So we can check each and everything. And there is one more persona actually, guys, that is PX grid. PX grid means platform, that is PX grid. PX grid is actually, I think, platform exchange. Exchange means those are. Just give me a moment, guys. Just a minute. Okay, so now the platform exchange means like this solution also can interact with multiple vendors, guys. Okay, so what is the meaning of multiple vendors? Solution means I'm talking about the Cisco ISE. So Cisco ISE can interact with other vendor devices also for AAA configuration. Like if we have Fortinet, okay, Fortinet firewall switch, okay, if we have Palo Alto, so with all such type of devices, it can interact for AAA solution. So that is the meaning of PX grid. Like if you know, the IC is also working with some SDN technologies as well, like Cisco SDA and the other things. So that how it interacts with multiple devices, with multiple vendor devices, not only with Cisco. Okay, so that is with the help of PX grid. Uh, with the help of PX grid solution, or you can say that is also persona, right? So after that we have two type of solution in ISE. Like you can use a physical box or you can use the virtual appliance as well. So we have two options. Like if you want to use a ISE solution, so how we can deploy that? So deployment means like I'm talking about the component point of view. Like we have here physical box, okay, and also we have virtual solution as well. Okay, so instead of physical, maybe I can deploy the virtual machine on my servers. Okay, maybe it can be VMware or a platform or other platform for me. So that is depend actually. So we have here now these series. So that is 3415 3495. Okay, or here you can see the series. If you go on the Cisco platform or Cisco site, you will see the multiple variety as well. Okay, like there can be more series right now because that is the old book. And the next one is we can even use the virtual appliance. So virtual appliance means like where we need some core. Okay, we need RAM according to the deployment, medium, large, small. Okay, and we need to define the hard drive size as well. Okay, so these type of things we can deploy, and after that there can be the deployment of a single node, two node, four node, or a full distribution. What is the meaning of the deployment scenario, guys? Deployment means you want to deploy a single node with all the personas. Like maybe I have low budget, and accordingly, so the first of all in deployment I will go with the single ICE solution. So that means here I have single ICE. So in that I'm using the PAN, and here also I'm using the PSN, and here also I'm using the MNT, right? Monitoring and the troubleshooting. So that means I configured one ICE device with all the personas inside it. So all are active here. All are actively working here, right? So that is the single deployment. And after that I can use the dual, or you can say I can use two ICE solution. So that is two node for me. What is the meaning of two node? Two node means I have two ICE now in that case. Okay, so suppose this ICE is here. This is also configured with PAN, MNT, and PSN. This is also configured with PAN, MNT, and PSN. Now this is active here for PAN. PAN means for administration, and this can be standby for PAN. This is now you can say like standby. This is can be active, but PSN always remain active, guys. PSN always remain active, right? So like you can configure ICE 1 for administration and ICE 2 for standby for administration, and ICE 1 is standby for MNT, and ICE 2 is active for MNT, right? And the last one is the policy is always active on all the components here. Okay, so this is the second solution. If you see, we have single device where we have PAN, MNT, and PSN, right? All are inside one box. Okay, so when you get the GUI access of the device, so under the administration you get the deployment, and under deployment you have to be check in admin, monitoring, and the policy, right? So under that you can define this is the standalone device, or you have like multiple primary or secondary role, so you can define this is by primary. And after that we have two deployment here. Two deployment is like one ISE and the second ISE. So one ISE have primary PAN, here is secondary PAN, secondary MNT, primary MNT, and PSN is active on both. And even you can do one thing, one device can be configured as active, so you can configure it active here also, and it will be secondary. So PAN and MNT secondary here on ISE2, and here is active, and PSN is active on both. And so that can be also the deployment in that case. Okay. And after that we have fully distribution here, guys. So like, okay, four node. So you can use the four node concept as well. So what is four node? So this is simple. So in four nodes, see guys, we have four eyes here. Okay. So in that, the first eyes is going to be configured primary for PAN, and this is second is secondary for PAN administration. And the first one is your secondary for MNT, and the second eyes is primary for MNT, right? But you have dedicatedly given the policies on two different eyes. So here we have PSN for active, PSN for active, because PSN remain active on both. So that we can do the deployment if we have more resources in the network. And the last one is the fully distribution. So fully distribution means like we can use the n number of device. So in that, see, there is limitation. What is the limitation, guys? See, just a minute. Okay, see, in a fully distribution deployment on Cisco ISE, separate each persona, place each on separate appliance. Okay, but make sure when we talk about with the deployment method, we place primary PAN, okay, and the MNT on ISE, and redundancy required on the secondary, right? So that means your PAN and MNT, those can be configured on four device only. Okay, not more than four device. So that means one can be primary, one is the secondary. Okay, and ICE is here like MNT also secondary, and here is the primary. So these are the four component dedicated. So that means we have only primary and secondary, only four ICE, for PAN and MNT. But for PSN we can use up to 50. How much we can use, guys? PSN 5 to, okay, it's like 40 to it's 40. Okay, 5 to 40. That means we can use total 40 eyes where we can use active PSN, where we can use active PSN, right? So that is ISIS and number for PSN. Is that clear to everyone? Guys, is there any doubt in the deployment?
No, clear.
Okay, so let's start with the installation of the ICE. Okay, because we discussed about the protocols, like where we can use TACACS and where is the radius. So let me start with the deployment. So I will show you the deployment and how we can use it. So I have already here ICE image. So let me extract this image. Okay. And let me start my lab. Okay. Okay. So guys, let me. Okay. So we have here image. So this is the image. Wait a minute. Okay, here is the image. Okay. So this we need to install inside the EVNG. So I'm using here WinSCP tool. So let me log in. Just wait a minute. Okay, the IP is strong. 216. Okay. So there are multiple ways to install it for the lab. You can use inside the Eve, and So you need to give more storage to even that case, okay, because this is going to be use a huge space, okay. And even you can use directly inside the VMware, okay. You can even import here. So VMware need OVF for OVF file, but here we are using that is better, I guess. Okay, so let me refresh it. I guess we need to put one more command here. Okay, we need to run the fix permission command. So we need to use ISE. So for CPU 8 GB RAM, okay, this will be the configuration of it. Okay, so I need to use a switch as well, or I can use just directly a network, and that must be management because same management network I'm going to be used to access it. So save it, and here I can connect a IOL device with it. It can be layer to switch or router. So let's use the switch. So that is switch one. Okay. And here I'm going to be connect the normal router, which maybe we can use for the configuration for AAA. Okay, guys. Let me power on the devices. Okay, I forget to change one thing. Stop it. Add it and okay, this is QME. Console is through telnet. Okay, save it. Start it. So I will get the access here directly, so I can get more clarity how to access it. Okay. So this will take a huge time, guys. Okay. So we need to be configure. First of all, it will ask about the setup. So if you talk about we have this is the management network. Let me write it. 192.168.216.0/24, right? So on ICE we are going to be use this IP address 192.168.216. Like we can configure here 101. This is the IP address, and I'm going to be configure a IP as a gateway on it. So that is 192.168.216. Let's configure it 100. So that will be on my router. Okay, on R1. Okay, so this is the management network, and management network is the same, so I can access through the cloud, right? So when it's asking about here, please type the setup. So instead of using here, yeah, admin or anything, the username, just type here setup. So that means now device is going for the setup configuration. So first of all, it's asking about the host name. So we are giving here name is ICE. Okay. And enter the IP address. IP address is 192.168.216.101. Subnet mask is /24. Gateway is 192.168.216.100. So this will be IP address on my router. Why? The reason is because later configuration we will do through the gateway, right? IPv6 is not required. Okay. If you want to give the domain name, suppose we have cisco.com or something that we can use. Primary name server can be like your name server. So I can keep one server in future in the same network. So it can interact with that directly. So that is okay. 101 here, 100 is on the device. So I will keep 102. Okay. And the secondary name server is not required, and you can configure NTP, so keep the same as it is. NTP not required. Okay, enter that time zone, so keep it UTC. Okay, SSH service that must required, and username is admin by default. Okay, and now enter the password. So password is like CCI exclamation 123. Okay, so now it will going to be check few things, like it will check the network interface, gateway reachability, and the even the name server. So until that I can configure this router. Hostname R3, interface E0 by 0. Okay, so I configured this IP address on R3. So because first of all it's going to be check its interface and then try to ping this IP address, and even the server IP address. See, trying to ping the gateway primary name server. So it will give you here some errors, right? Like see, the name server ping is retry. So you have to be make here no if you don't have any server. Okay, because we don't want to make any check here right now. So now this is going to be check or going to be installed now, so we have to be wait. So like this is the normal configuration, and sync the NTP server in correct time could. Okay, system. Okay, we don't need right now, so just make it no. Okay, so let it be the install. So these are the normal steps, guys. After that you will get the device GUI access. Okay, but like me show you, if you try to check this time, we have 101 IP, right? So you can see the 101 IP is reachable now, right? But if you try to access the GUI right now, that should be not possible. See, the currently device is not ready for the GUI. So we need to wait here, right? So it will take, I guess, around half an hour or maybe 1 hour. Okay. So you can do these steps and try to initialize your device first, and then we can start with the basic configuration. The basic configuration means like later on, maybe we are trying to take telnet of this router. So this router is going to be request to the server, right? And we have to add this router first here. We need to configure the credential here, right? So that things is required. So first of all, let's wait. See, even HTTP and HTTPS. So we don't have access of the device. Okay. See, the device is installing here, and the applications are even installing here. So till now, do you have any doubt, guys, here related to the installation?
Where we can find this image?
Yeah, I will share it. It's even available here. So if you go on the lab on hub, right, under that, use this one 3.10. Okay,
Okay.
so use this link. So I hope there is no doubt till now, because the next configuration we can do after the initialization. So we have to be wait here, or we can conclude the class and we will start tomorrow with the configuration of the ISE, or to understand the basics things of ISE first, and then the configuration. So if you have any doubt, please let me know, guys. Otherwise, we can conclude the call. Vicky, Kenel, Sahir, all good? Vicky, Vicky Chopra.
Yeah, no doubt from my side.
Okay. So guys, in next we are going to be start with the configuration of ISE. Okay. Till now you can install it in your lab. If you're facing an issue, just let me know. So like we need to install it first. So like these are the steps you have to be remember. Okay. You can add the name, password, gateway, DNS, domain, time zone, time. If you have NTP, that you can add, right? And make sure SSH must be here, because you need to take CLI also, maybe for few things, or to checks the configuration or reconfigure it, right? Okay, thank you.
How much size we need to allocate in the event VMware?
VMware, make sure it have like 400 GB at least.
Okay.
To Eve only, yeah, because the ice is heavy. Okay, okay, guys, thank you. Yes, because otherwise there will be problem. Maybe your Eve will stop giving you GUI. So these are the like normal problems if we have disk full. Okay, because we are also going to be use Windows Server as well in some session with ICE to integrate with AD. If you remember, you asked about that, right? So we will also do that. So in that case, we need to make sure the size is high, so there will be no problem. Okay. Yes, yes, you're right. Okay, guys, thank you.